All right, guys, today's question is how much will the Fed rate drop save me on my mortgage payments? Stick with me and we'll let you know.
You better get fired up.
Guys, happy Friday. We're here every single Friday at 11 o'clock asking the tough questions, right? You guys can present any questions you'd like me in a DM, or you can put it in the comments and we'll answer that question in a future video. But we really want to make sure that we're answering the questions that you guys have about real estate. So this week's question again talks about the correlation between the Fed rate drop that we saw back on September 18th, which if my math is correct, what's that, 10 days ago, 9 days ago, and mortgage rates now, and then kind of pushing that into, okay, what does that mean in actual payment per month? And I think that's an awesome question. It's a question that a lot of people have, a lot of realtors have. And it's really an interesting, complex answer. I'm going to try to simplify as much as possible without getting into the weeds. But if you look at rates the day before the Fed dropped the rate, and they didn't just drop the rate a quarter of a point or an eighth of a point, they dropped it a half a point, which is much larger than a lot of people anticipated they were going to drop it. And when you look at rates then versus rates now, rates are the same or even a little bit higher now, right? Why would that happen? There's a lot of reasons. Number one, the Fed rate is not directly linked to your mortgage rates. There are a lot of things that go into what your mortgage rates are going to be. And the Fed rate is not in any way directly correlated to that. Indirectly, yeah, I put up a post last week where I stated I believed, looking at the graph of the Fed rate and mortgage rates, it's absolutely correlational over time, but it's not 100% correlational. So you'll see sometimes the Fed rate will go up or down and the mortgage rates don't move or go in the opposite direction. But over time, I felt that more often than not, the two tended to go in the same direction. Over the last 9 or 10 days, which is such a short frame of time, that has not happened. The two rates have been different. One went down, the other one stayed the same or gone up. So we're seeing two completely different things. Now, should that scare you as a buyer, or should you say, hey, okay, I guess I'm going to sit on the fence for a little bit more? That's a loaded question. I think that your response to that question, if you're asking myself, should I be sitting on the fence or should I be buying, should be more of a math equation. It should be with you and an intelligent lender or an intelligent realtor who can sit down and crunch the math. And it either makes sense or it doesn't make sense for you. If it doesn't make sense financially for you at these rates, then you don't have an option. You have to wait. If it does make sense, then it's looking at, okay, where are we anticipating rates will be? And it's a guess. You can ask 10 lenders, 10 realtors, 10 economists, and they're going to give you all different answers on where that rate's going to be in the next 6, 12, 18, 24 months. And it's based on a lot of different things because the economy is so complex. You've got jobs. You've got the overall economy. You've got stocks and bonds. You've got 10-year treasuries. You've got, where the previous trends of mortgage rates. You've got inventory, housing inventory. And then you've got inventory broken down by like in the lower price points that are more affordable and the higher luxury price points. And then you've got, things going on like Ukraine and Russia, or, sometimes we've got China, Taiwan issues, or, all these different things. And then we got an election coming up, a big election coming up. So all of these things play into where the mortgage rates are going to be. And it's not just, in fact, it's not directly at all the Fed rate. Okay. So I want to make sure that everybody's understanding of that. So how much are you going to save? To go back and answer that question, how much are you going to save? You're not going to save anything. It's the same or even higher than it was a week and a half ago, right? So going back to that question of, okay, so then should I be sitting on the sidelines or should I move forward? Again, you've got to ask yourself if you can mathematically do it. And I personally, if I'm sitting there and I can choose to either sign that rental contract or go buy a home, if I can afford to buy, I'm going to buy. And the reason comes down to this, and I can get more mathematical, and I have in other videos, and I'm willing to do it one-on-one with you if you reach out to me. You can comment, you can DM, whatever, and I will absolutely run these numbers for you. But when you look at somebody who's lived in a place for 5 or 10 years, and it gets even crazier if they've lived there longer, and then they go to sell, and you compare that situation to the situation where they rented, it's just not close. You're getting a monster check at closing. Now, some people would say, yeah, but I can't buy a home with a monthly payment for the amount that I can rent for. I can rent for cheaper with roughly the same home. Okay, that might be true. But again, with your rent, 100% of it's going out the window. 100%. It's all going to pay your landlord's mortgage. When you own, again, you've got to be able to afford it, because if you can't afford it, then this doesn't even matter. But if you can't afford it, not only are you paying down your mortgage, which helps you build equity, so when you eventually sell, you're going to get that chunk of change at closing, but you're also getting the appreciation of the market, right? And I've done, I did an analysis, maybe it was 2 years ago. It was probably my favorite Facebook post I ever did, where I looked at buying at the dumbest time, right? When the market was at the absolute peak, right before the '08 drop. And then if you held on to it for, I can't remember if I did a 5 or a 10 year, but in the worst housing market, right? The worst bubble burst we've ever seen and probably will ever see in our lifetimes. If you just held on to the house for a few years, it all came back plus some. And if you compared it to renting, you still did considerably better owning than renting. So if that happens in the worst bubble ever, it's going to happen 99% of the time, probably our entire lives, probably. So you're getting the appreciation. You're also getting the pay down on your mortgage, so you're building the equity that way as well. And then there's a lot of tax deductions that come along with owning a property that you can take advantage of as well. That allows you to free up more cash and invest it in your IRAs or your 401ks, or improve your property, which increases property values, or whatever it is, but it's freeing up cash for you. So there are multiple avenues of wealth building when you own a home. When you own a rental, with very few exceptions, and the exceptions are very minor, there just isn't anything helping you build your wealth. So again, if you can, absolutely sit down with somebody and run the math. If you can't, it doesn't matter. In that case, just save up your money, try to build your income, try to figure out a way to lower your costs, your debt specifically, and that'll help you in the future. Guys, again, if you've got any questions for future Friday videos, you've got questions, I've got answers, feel free to put it in the comments, and we'd love to go over them in the future. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next Friday at 11 o'clock.